Hi guys, in today's video we are going to be taking a look at 11 awesome tips and tricks for Citron in Plants vs Zombies Battle for Neighborville. As usual, just before we begin, remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy the content on this channel and want to help it grow. Anyway, let's get started. So we're going to kick off this first section by discussing some tips relating to Citron's abilities. The first one is Peach, which is an ability that allows you to stun zombies for a couple of seconds. However, this ability does a number of other things too. Tip number 1 is that Peach is very effective against Z-mechs. If this ability is fired at a mech, it will drain about 1/3 of its fuel, which is great for getting that pesky imp out much faster. Also, if the Z-mech has already used 2/3 of its fuel and you use Peach, you will destroy the mech, forcing the imp out. Continuing with Peach, in one of the most recent updates, this ability was actually given some additional uses in terms of what it can cancel. So tip number 2 is that Peach can now cancel Space Cadet's Gravity Slam, destroy Engineer's Bullhorn Swarm, and cancel All-Star's Sprint Tackle ability. Next, we'll move on to Citron's second ability called Spin Dash. So the name of this ability says it all. Citron goes into orange mode and dashes at his enemy at high speed, dealing damage. So tip number 3 is to remember that because this ability does 75 damage if you hit a zombie, this can one-shot an imp even if it is at full health, as they have 75 health. The only difficulty with this is that imps are quick and agile, so it's quite tricky to do, but if you manage to land a hit, it is very satisfying indeed. Another tip for Spin Dash is that although as Citron you want to play defensively, if you do find yourself in a one-on-one situation, Spin Dash is a great ability to start or end a fight with. A, because this ability does a significant amount of damage, giving you a big advantage for the rest of the firefight. This of course is dependent on whether you hit the zombie or not. And B, it can really disorientate your enemy as they get knocked back and thrown into the air slightly. Also, if you have Peach ready, you can hit them with Spin Dash, stun them with Peach, and then use your primary weapon to finish them off. Alternatively, if the fight is not going your way, Spin Dash is always a good ability to get you out of trouble, particularly if you are using some of the perks that I'm going to talk about later. Citron's third ability is called Naval Laser, and this is a powerful laser that shoots constantly and gets more powerful over time. So tip number 4 is quite an interesting one and may actually be a bug, but when fighting an engineer, Naval Laser can be very helpful. This is because if an engineer hits you with his Bullhorn Swarm ability, which is the ability that stuns you, if you are using the Naval Laser, it is actually unaffected by Bullhorn Swarm, meaning that even if you are stunned, you will continue to shoot your laser. The final tip before we move on to talking about Citron's shield is about cooldown time. So this is a tip I mention in all of my character guide videos. Understanding the cooldown time of your abilities is vital for strategic and tactical play. For example, if I know Spin Dash will be ready in 5 seconds, I know that if I take damage I have an ability that will help me to get out of trouble. With that being said, let's talk about Citron's cooldown time. So on the HUD it does actually show you how much time you have to wait, but I think it's always good to know the total time in your head. So, Peach has a cooldown of 20 seconds, Spin Dash has a cooldown of 13 seconds, and Naval Laser has a cooldown of 18 seconds. So those are all of the ability tips. Section 2 is all about Citron's amazing shield that can literally absorb an infinite amount of damage. It's actually about 600 damage, I believe. Anyway, tip 6 is to remember to try and stay next to walls or in corners to protect yourself from being hit from other angles. Although Citron's shield is insanely powerful, the one disadvantage it has is that it can only really block from the front, as the shield doesn't have much of an arc. So where possible, try and back yourself into a corner or against a wall to try and give you as much protection from incoming damage as possible. Another great way to use Citron's shield is to use it to revive your teammates. An advantage that Citron has over other plants is that his shield can be used whilst reviving his teammates, and this may even prove Citron is actually better at reviving than Sunflower. While she can revive faster and heal herself, she can't prevent incoming damage. Citron probably has the upper hand when it comes to reviving in high action firefights. Also, whilst you are reviving, you can still use your shield to protect other plants on your team at the same time. Tip 8 is also about the shield, and this one involves working together with other players, particularly pea shooters and sunflowers. This is because both of these characters have a turret ability which can do a lot of damage. Pea shooter has Gatling Pea and sunflower has Sunbeam. If you team up with one of these characters, you can use your shield to protect them whilst they are in their vulnerable state, as they can't move around, meaning that they can still do tons of damage but are protected by the warm glow of the peel shield. I'd probably say teaming up with a sunflower is better, as they can still heal you, plus they can use sunny side up before going into sunbeam for an extra health boost. Finally, this strategy can be done in games when playing with randoms online, but you will get the most out of this when playing with someone you can communicate with. So that was the shield. The next tip is about playstyle and knowing your role whilst playing as Citron. Although Battle for Neighborville doesn't limit how you play, each character is built for a specific role. In Citron's case, this is defense. Citron is probably the most tanky and defensive character in the game, so it's important to remember to get the most out of the character and help your team. Defensive is the way to go. With that being said, a couple of things to remember. Number 1, stick with your team. To get the most out of Citron's area of effect, abilities and shield, staying with your team is the best way to do it. Citron's shield is very powerful, so if other players on your team can bask in the glory of the almighty shield god, the better it is going to be. Also, Citron can't shoot while using his shield, so you need your teammates to do it for you. Having just mentioned the shield, you want to use this as much as possible. A Citron without a shield is like cereal without milk. It's just nowhere near as good. Whilst you probably can play Citron aggressively, and it's always a good feeling when you get a lot of vanquishes in a game, but if you want to win more games and be a good team player, be defensive. Also, just because you are playing defensively and helping out with objectives, it doesn't mean you won't get a lot of vanquishes. So the final tip in this video is about perks. It wouldn't be a good character guide video if I didn't talk about loadouts, so I have a couple of different upgrade suggestions to share with you, and both of these have come from players who are very experienced Battle for Neighborville players, and they've certainly played Citron a lot more than I have. This first set of upgrades mainly focuses on increasing Citron's speed. While Citron has a lot of health, he is pretty slow. So we have Emergency Exit, which allows Citron to move 30% faster for 3 seconds after using the Spin Dash ability. This is a great one to do hit and run tactics with, or like I said earlier, great for escaping combat. Then we have Freshly Squeezed, which increases your sprint speed by 30%, and this time it's for 5 seconds. This activates after vanquishing an enemy. Finally, we have Adrenaline Rush, which increases your movement speed, not sprint speed, by 55% for 3 seconds after vanquishing an enemy. So I'd say that if you're one of those players who wants to play Citron a little more offensively, this is a loadout I would go with. However, if you want to be more defensive, I would recommend using Emergency Exit, which we've just talked about. It increases your speed after using Spin Dash. Then you're going to want to use Health Regeneration and Health Regeneration Delay, both of which are self-explanatory. And again, the final perk is Freshly Squeezed, giving you a speed boost after vanquishes. Now, the one issue with both of these loadouts is the Emergency Exit perk, as this requires your Citron to be a super elite. So if you're unable to use this perk, I would suggest using Refreshing Revive. As I said earlier, Citron is great for reviving, so this perk will make your abilities cooldown time shorter whenever you revive another plant. Now, just before we finish off, I just want to say a couple of thank yous. Firstly, there were a number of you who helped with some of these Citron tips, so thank you to MasterLord, SirGnome, Imaperson, and Connor CN9Z. Apologies if I've missed anyone else. Finally, I want to say thank you to iDemon for helping me record some of the clips in this video. Anyway guys, that's about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what your favourite Citron tip was in the comments below, but other than that, remember to subscribe and I shall see you in the next one. Okay, thanks guys, bye.